Alrighty. Tell me if this sounds vaguely familiar. You've been trying to lose body fat, but getting frustrated. You're tired all the time, lack energy, and are maybe sleeping poorly. You've tried the restrictive fad diets and crazy cardio only to gain back the weight and then some. You want to focus on your health and gain muscle to make your coming years the best they can be. And you're really motivated to transform your body and have sustainable results. So everyone, this was me to a T. So I did my research. I looked at all the coaching plans out there and knew I wanted one that combined both fitness and nutrition, was macro based, and had an app to keep me on track. Faster Way had all of this and more. And best of all, it is a perfect match for women in midlife. I'd love to tell you more and see if I'd be a good match for you as your coach. My contact info is in the show notes of this episode. And now, on to the show. Health, wellness, fitness, and everything in between. We're removing the taboo from what really matters in midlife. I'm your host, Michelle Folan, and this is Asking for a Friend. Roughly 30% of women aged 50 to 64 are single. And while there are plenty of dating apps out there to assist in the search for companionship, they aren't always ideal and can be, frankly, overwhelming. But there is one important thing that should be done on the front end before we dive into the dating abyss. Do you really know what you're looking for? Are you fearful of repeating past errors in the choices you've made? Or are you the compassionate person who is always helping a friend through their dating woes? Well, it may simply come down to getting some coaching. Today, we're joined by dating and love coach Maria Spears, who wants to empower women to find the love of their life and create the extraordinary relationship they've always wanted. Welcome, Maria Spears.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm delighted to be with you and your listeners.
Oh, well, it's great to see you again. We have chatted before, and I thought this was a great subject to cover off on because there are so many single women out there right now. And all of us have maybe at least one single friend that we always are that shoulder to cry on, helping them through their dating challenges. So I thought we could cover off on a lot of really good stuff today. I am very curious how you found your path to becoming a dating and love coach. Like, what was your career path and like, where'd you go to school and all that good stuff?
Okay. Well, I came to this finally from my own heartache from a couple years after my divorce. At that point, I had kind of redefined my life, and I was ready to make a career change as well. And I kind of went back to something I had done long ago at the beginning of my career, which was to counsel and coach young people at the college level. And so I started to go through a coach training program. And as I was doing that and started to see clients, every single person that came to me wanted to go back and heal past heartache. And yeah, they didn't want to repeat the same mistakes in the future. They wanted to figure out how they could break their patterns of attracting the same types of people that they weren't happy with. So it was through my own process as well of recovering from divorce and figuring it out what it was in me that caused my relationships to go in the wrong direction, to be unhappy or unfulfilling. And I also figured out what it is that we as women, if we had known it, we could have prevented a lot of our own mistakes and heartache. And I want to do that for women moving forward, because there's things that are very learnable, because this thing about love doesn't have to do with intelligence at all. Every single woman I ever meet is super intelligent. And it's almost like it's outside of your consciousness. It's a subconscious process that happens that governs whether or not you're going to find the right partner. So I'll let you ask me any.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here thinking as you're saying all this, and I'm going, maybe this is coaching we should all put our daughters through
Yes.
before they make that choice. Just how do we prevent them from making mistakes that we ultimately learn about later, right? So it's just that was just an aside thought. It wasn't really a question. It was more of a comment. So you looked at your own life and you reassessed how you were going about choosing a partner. What did you find in your own story that helped you come to terms with this?
So the biggest thing that I learned for myself, and there was a lot, we could probably devote a session to this, but the biggest thing that I found was that I wasn't speaking my truth. In fact, I didn't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know myself. And so that really impacts, how your partner is able to, how deep they are able to go emotionally with you if you're not able to go there. So it was just a cascade of things. And the person that I ultimately married, because I'm divorced now about 12 years, the person that I married, I chose based on criteria that were, not in alignment with who I was. And it was based on a low self-worth.
Yeah. Maria, I often think too that we do change a little bit, and maybe not change as much as we grow. And maybe that person that we thought was our ideal mate 12 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever, may not be who we are now. And you said about being true to yourself. And I think midlife women kind of come to terms with this in many ways, not just relationships, but careers. And, this is where the midlife pivot comes in. So this is really interesting. So this is just looking at it from a dating perspective and finding love.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that because, many women find themselves in marriages or partnerships in midlife. And, one or both of the partners have evolved, but possibly in different directions. And that's the challenge, right? To keep a long-term relationship going and going to a deeper level.
So when you have, started working with women, what do you find most often holds women back from finding their ideal partner?
I love that you asked this question because I want people to know that it's not them. It's not something innately wrong with them because a lot of women believe this that I meet with. It really has to do with when you were born, your brain started to create a blueprint for relationships from the very beginning, from that relationship with your parents and then moving forward in all your romantic relationships. And inside of that are all your past experiences, your hurts, your emotions, and your beliefs about love and men and about yourself. And so those are the things in patterns, that we carry forward. And our brain is designed to help us keep repeating those. So until you interrupt those, you recognize what they are and interrupt them and change those patterns, they will subconsciously continue to repeat. That's just the way our brains are designed. And it's not that we're intellectually or emotionally faulty.
And then part of your coaching, do you do exercises to kind of help people break that circuit in a way?
Yeah, I do. We do a lot of exercises up front because it sets the foundation for everything else we do. It helps us discover what those limiting beliefs are that keep them back. For example, I'm too old to find love now, or I'm not attractive enough, or it's not in the cards for me. There's a lot of beliefs people have that cut the possibilities off for them. So we do a lot of self-discovery exercises, especially the part about what their needs really are, their legitimate human needs. And so many women over 50 never got a chance to look at that because the women who raised us were from a generation of you have to be seen but not heard.
Yeah. Suck it up.
Yeah.
Is journaling a part of this? Do people actually put this in writing?
Yeah. I do exercises with them, especially to release past hurts, especially if there's been a divorce, so I have them write letters to past loves, kind of really, not that they mail, but they burn them, but it's just really cathartic to get it out. I also am an EFT tapping practitioner, and I find that just as people use tapping to break habits like smoking, I can help them break habits going towards the wrong people.
Maria, I have had an EFT practitioner on the show before. Do you mind just explaining a little bit about what EFT is and how that works?
Yeah. So EFT tapping, emotional freedom techniques, it runs on the assumption, just like in Chinese medicine, that you have meridians of energy running through your body. And the idea is that when an event occurs that causes certain emotions and beliefs to come up, that interrupts your energy flow. And by tapping, we are able to tap into, we're able to clear that. It's almost like a kink in a lawn hose, a water hose. We're able to open up the flow again. And tapping goes to the amygdala part of the brain, where normal situations might cause us to be anxious and upset or bring up past heartache. So because you tap and it calms the brain, so you're not reacting anymore in the same way you used to. You can also use it in positive ways to boost your confidence. So I personally use it before I'm going to speak, to help me feel more relaxed and able to speak freely, from the heart.
Did you do EFT tapping before we got on our call today?
I did.
Okay. I was just curious. I was like, okay, she really does do this. That's neat. I think I like things like EFT, hypnosis, Reiki. I think they're all super interesting and offer people just different resources for self-help, right? And many women though are still reeling and healing from heartache of divorce or even a breakup. At what point do you feel they're ready to start to explore dating again? Because if you're not really ready, if you're still really in this state of mourning, when do you know you're ready?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Everybody, I just want to state up front that everyone is different. So some people are ready months later, some people are ready years later, and some people are ready decades later. So you have to go with what is right for you. It depends on how much you've had opportunity to process your emotions, whether with a therapist or a group, a supportive group. I think that's really important. The process of getting to know yourself again and finding your joys, that's really important to do beforehand, because there's nothing worse than stepping into dating and then immediately suffering, the common rejections that happen when you're out there in the dating world. So I think one of the markers that I tell women to look for themselves is to look at, is your life back to some kind of a routine? Do you feel like your life has found a rhythm again? Do you feel like you're ruminating much less about your divorce and your ex?
Mm-hmm.
And when you do decide to go out there, really important is to give yourself an intention of why you're going out there. And any of these that I'm going to mention are okay, but just be really clear for yourself, because you don't want to jump into a relationship, a full-on relationship immediately. If you're even asking yourself the question, am I ready? You're going to be ready to date much sooner than you're emotionally ready for a relationship.
So if you're still driving past your ex's house or stalking him on Facebook, it's probably not a good time to start dating yet.
And if you do, just be clear with yourself. Oh, I'm getting out there so I can, have affection and physical contact again. Or I'm getting out there just to have fun. Or I'm getting out there just to see, who's out there, expand my social circle and see what kind of men are out there today, get my feet wet. So I advise even my clients, they're going to date for 3 to 6 months, different people without getting exclusive with anybody.
That's an interesting policy.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I picked this up off of one of your Facebook posts or Instagram posts. Can this process kind of look like a job search?
In some ways, yes. You can use some of the skills you have accomplished or that you fine-tuned in your work, in your career. For example, the person you're going to ultimately meet, or just getting out there to meet people to date, they're not likely to be in your immediate circle. So you want to network, get out there and go to different places to meet people outside your comfort zone. You want to draw from your great communication skills. Women are so great at listening carefully and really getting to the heart of, what's being said. So that bringing that curiosity and listening is really important. I mean, a lot of women don't realize how much men crave emotional intimacy.
Yeah.
And we're able to do that. And we're able to lead them to that place. So being your authentic self, like stating very clearly what your, wants and desires are, and it gives the other person an opportunity to please you, to know what you want to, and also to know, well, that's a whole other thing, to know that they can't push your boundaries. But it develops trust. If someone can see who you are and that you do what you say you're going to do, there's a lot to it. But yeah, so that's some of the things that you might want to, the other big thing is what's your non-negotiables and your must-haves. Even if you're dating casually, what are you not willing to put up with? And if you're recently divorced, I say stay away from negative people.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from men who are still in the hurt of divorce themselves.
Right. So here's my question to you though, and I love how you're saying you want to let people know your boundaries and be honest about what's important to you. That's typically not a topic you're going to discuss on the first, even the second date. When do you start to have those conversations?
Give me an example of what you're thinking.
Well, I know sometimes people will say, hey, that was something that my ex-husband used to do and it used to really bother me. And, or that kind of thing. Like when is it fair to start having those discussions with someone that you're kind of interested in?
Okay. So I think, a couple of dates down the road, I think based on what I think you're trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
and what I was trying to speak to in terms of your desires is like the basics when you're setting up a first date. Like, let them propose a couple places to go to and choose. Don't say, oh, whatever you want. So that's what I mean by being really clear for them so that
Okay.
they have something to run with. Or if you don't like someone to pick you up in their car who you don't know, it's okay to say that. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're a lovely person, but I don't get in a car with someone I don't know yet.
Okay. No, I think that's good. I think, setting some parameters of how you want to date is very important. I met my husband on Match in 2011. Are women still having success with these apps, or do you have other strategies?
Yeah, I thank you for asking that, because from the amount that apps are advertised, you would think that people are only meeting there. And the truth is this, I read the research and the data. And what I see is that for women over 50, it's less than 10% meet a partner, a long-term partner on there, or get married. People are on there for many reasons. They're there for hookups. They're there for friendships. They're there for relationships. So that's why I say be clear up front why you're getting in there, especially online. But when I work with women, we create a plan for how they're going to get out there more. And it's predominantly about how they're going to expand their social circles and show up in places that they enjoy, doing activities they love. Because I know that looking at my clients who have met their partners, I don't see anyone who met them online. Even the ladies under 40.
Really?
It just happened. But yeah, so I will help women with their profiles, with their photos, and so that they can use online just to get practice dating and not have really big expectations, but be out there and practice their skills. But it's not the thing I focus on with them.
I had a dating coach on the show a while back, and one of her strategies was go find men where men hang out. So bourbon tastings, golf tournaments, that kind of. What do you think about that?
Well, what I like about that is that it asks a woman to go a little out of her comfort zone and not just go to places other women hang out. Because a lot of times our interests are similar to other women. So I do like that. But what I encourage is go play pickleball. I've played pickleball now for 2 years. And then in the first couple of months, I got 3 dates.
Oh,
So I know there are men, out there, meaning go do an activity that you love. And it's better to get to know someone through an activity, especially when you're jovial and you're having fun. You're much more approachable.
Yeah.
And it's easier for them. They have an easier way to kind of start striking up a conversation. And you can too. I mean, it's much harder to strike up a conversation at the grocery store or the coffee line than it is if you're playing on a team with someone, a sport. So there's a lot of men who take yoga today. You're laughing. I want to see.
No, I'm laughing because I like striking up a conversation with a guy over the pomegranates at the in the produce section.
Yeah. Well, there are certain times where available men are going to those the produce section.
Yeah. Hey, it happens. I know. I know someone who's married today because she met her husband in the produce section at a grocery store. Mm-hmm. Do people still meet at church?
Personally, I haven't worked with anyone who met that way, but I would say yes. If there's something that's in your values that's really important to you, that would be like the most obvious place to start with, especially if you are sharing with other people there that, hey, I am looking for someone wonderful, with these qualities. Please introduce me to them. So, you can use it that way to expand, again, your network.
All right. Can you explain your Transcendent Love program?
Yeah, it starts with like the first thing that we talked about, which is looking at what your original patterns are, your blueprint in relationships, and being able to work through that and dissolve those. And then we start with working with their must-haves and their deal breakers, because so many of us really don't know what makes up an unhealthy relationship and what makes up a healthy one. And so we go through that process initially. A big part of it is helping women get into their goddess vision. And what I mean by that is helping them discover what is their essence that they were born with that no other person has. What is really beautiful and attractive about them, so they can really feel it and embody it when they're out there in the world and in dating. I help them discover what their strengths are in relationships. And we work through, upgrading dating skills and relationship skills, because what we're ready for today in terms of enhancing our love life is, a different place than we were when we were, in our teens and 20s and 30s getting married for the first time. So and I want women to have a vision of the kind of partner that is 10x beyond what they've ever imagined. So we create visioning activities so that they can really put themselves in that life and really feel what it would be like to be with a man who cherishes them, who really sees them, who's truly an equal partner. So that's the basics of what we go through.
The guy on the cover of the romance novel. That's the guy. So if you have a client, Maria, who isn't feeling self-confident, they're not feeling good about themselves, they may, they're not having body confidence, they feel like, 20 years, 25 years of marriage, they feel frumpy, whatever. How do you get them in a better place to feel like that goddess, that they feel like they can go out and meet that man?
I start with helping them go back to what helps them feel joy and appreciation. Because once you start getting in the flow of those emotions, then you start to see ahead, how you could be connecting with someone who will appreciate everything about you. So we start first with their self-care. There's something about when she cares for herself and shows love to herself that she's finally able to show a partner or a potential partner how to love her, how she wants to be loved. So we really start from there. And we work a lot at pulling up what their strengths are, what's really beautiful about them. A lot of people believe that women, especially, they have to be a certain way for men to love them or be attracted to them. And I have to say that men find the beauty in women and confidence attractive, period, end of story.
Yeah.
And because my clients come from all kinds of backgrounds that you would say, oh my God, she had so much emotional baggage. She was married twice. She had her whole life a terrible streak with men and rejection. And literally, you really can put that behind you and feel like the right man is going to love every part of you because he's been looking for exactly what you have. So it's that belief that I keep reinforcing in them.
Yeah. And I love what you said about that. Just that if you exude confidence, if you show confidence, that is so appealing to men that they're really attracted to that.
Yeah. And expressing who you are, at your core, like talking about it, your dreams, your desires, your goals, just being authentically you, because you want to attract someone who wants that. You don't want anyone else, who's not going to be a match to that.
Yeah.
So it's okay if the wrong ones self-select out.
Yeah. You just don't want to compromise.
Yes. And I make sure I hold the bar high for them so they don't compromise.
Do you work with people just one-on-one? Do you do group type of coaching as well?
Yeah, I work mostly with women one-on-one because I find that it's a really sacred space of the heart. It's very individual, and we make the most progress working one-on-one in the fastest time. But I do offer groups twice a year, and that's the Path to Transcendent Love program, and I'll be offering that again in the fall. So, and I speak quite a bit to women's groups. So those are the ways where I get to spread more love in the world.
Okay, that's nice. I like that you go speak to groups too. That's neat. Mm-hmm. I know this is kind of a funny question, but I was just curious. Have you ever had a married woman looking for a love interest outside of her marriage?
I have had partnered women really wondering if they're with the right person come to me, and we work together on a short-term basis for them to figure that out. They just need a sounding board. They need to know, I've had people tell me, I kind of hated you for a while after we talked because I told them something that they didn't want to hear that they already knew. But, so I do get that women want to figure out if they're in the right relationship or improve the one that they're in.
Okay. That makes sense though. Nip it in the bud early. Just a little, I think it's reaffirming to have someone else, another set of eyes on your situation. So I do have a question for you about your own self-care. Mm-hmm. What is one of your core pillars of self-care that you practice?
Well, the thing I consistently practice is trying to eat as much organic, vegetables, fruits, and meats at home. And then if I go out, then, of course you don't have that option, but that's something I consistently do. I do make sure that either I do energy work on myself through the tapping, or I go to a practitioner who can do Reiki, who can, help me move through certain periods of my life with energy medicine.
That's nice. So you do practice what you preach.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Maria Spears, where can listeners find you?
Well, I think the easiest place, the central place, is my website, which is maria-spears.com. You'll be able to find my social handles there. You can schedule a 45-minute free consultation if you're interested to see what you can do to change your love life. And I also offer a free guide, a 10-step guide to finding true love.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. I will put that in the show notes, Maria. Maria Spears, thank you for being a guest today.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm so delighted to be with you.
Follow Asking for a Friend on social media outlets and provide a review and share this show wherever you get your podcasts. Reviews and sharing help us grow.